The FBI estimates that over $300 million worth of counterfeit coins are circulating in the collector's market today. That's not ancient history. That's happening right now. The same techniques that fooled coin experts in 1954 are being used to deceive collectors on eBay today, except now they're powered by 3D printing and computer-controlled machinery. The irony? Some of these counterfeits have become collectible in their own right, worth hundreds or thousands of dollars as authenticated fakes. Others are still out there, still being traded, still fooling people who think they know what they're looking at. Collectors want to believe they've found something special, that they've spotted the treasure everyone else missed. The question isn't whether you've encountered counterfeit coins, it's whether you've recognized them when you did. If this story caught your attention, you'll love what else we uncover. Subscribe for more stories from the hidden world of collectibles, the legends, the scandals, and the secrets behind the items people treasure most. First on the list, a penny worth $2,000. That's the promise of the 1809 VDB Lincoln cent. But here's the problem. For every genuine example in circulation, there might be 3 fakes. The 1909 VDB represents everything counterfeiters love about a target coin. High value, strong demand, and just enough legitimate examples in the market to make fakes believable. With only 484,000 minted at the San Francisco facility, this cent has become America's most counterfeited coin. The story begins with controversy. Victor David Brenner designed the new Lincoln cent, but his prominent VDB initials on the reverse sparked public outrage. Critics claimed the initials were too large, too obvious, too much like advertising. The mint quickly removed them, making the 1909 VDB a short-lived issue that collectors immediately recognized as special. That instant recognition created the perfect storm for counterfeiting. Dealers knew the coin was valuable, collectors wanted to own one, and the relatively simple design made replication feasible. By the 1920s, fake 1909 VDB cents were already appearing in the market. Modern counterfeiters use 2 primary methods. The first involves altering common 1909 cents by adding an S mint mark. These altered coins can fool casual collectors, but they rarely survive expert examination. The fake mint mark typically shows different metal composition, wrong font characteristics, or positioning that doesn't match authentic examples. The second method involves complete fabrication using transfer dies or modern striking equipment. These fakes are far more dangerous because they can replicate weight, dimensions, and surface characteristics that simple alterations cannot achieve. Some sophisticated examples have fooled professional graders, at least initially. Detection requires understanding specific diagnostic features. Authentic 1909 VDB cents show particular die characteristics, specific letter spacing in VDB, and mint mark positioning that varies within documented parameters. The S mint mark should appear crisp, properly proportioned, and positioned correctly relative to the date. But perhaps the most telling indicator is market behavior. When rare 1909 VDB cents appear frequently at coin shows or online auctions, especially in high grades, collectors should be suspicious. The laws of rarity suggest that truly scarce coins don't appear in abundance. The counterfeit problem has become so severe that authentication services now use advanced imaging, metallurgical analysis, and die studies to verify examples. Even so, new fakes continue to appear, created by counterfeiters who study legitimate examples and authentication techniques with the same dedication as legitimate researchers. Moving to our second case, a dime that's worth more than most people's car payments, and the target of one of numismatic's most sophisticated counterfeiting operations. The 1916 Mercury dime commands prices between $15,000 and $40,000, depending on condition, making it one of the most valuable small denomination coins in American history. With only 264,000 minted in Denver, it's the key date that every Mercury dime collector needs, and the coin that counterfeiters have been perfecting for decades. What makes this particular fake so dangerous is the sophistication involved. We're not talking about crude alterations or obvious reproductions. Expert Jack Young has documented cases where counterfeit 1916 Mercury dimes have been encapsulated in fake PCGS slabs, complete with fraudulent certification numbers and holographic security features. The counterfeiting methods range from simple to terrifyingly complex, Basic fakes involve adding a D mint mark to common 1916 Philadelphia dimes. These alterations can be detected by examining the mint mark under magnification, looking for signs of soldering, different metal composition, or improper positioning relative to the date. But the sophisticated fakes represent a completely different challenge. Modern counterfeiters have created transfer dies that can strike complete fake coins with the proper dimensions, weight, and surface characteristics. These pieces show consistent die wear patterns, proper metal composition, and aging that can fool even experienced collectors. Detection requires understanding specific diagnostic features unique to authentic 1916-D dimes. The D mint mark should show particular characteristics in terms of size, positioning, and the way it was punched into the die. The overall strike quality, design elements, and wear patterns must match documented examples from the Denver Mint. Video evidence from experts like Bill Fivaz demonstrates microscopic details that separate authentic from fake. The spacing between design elements, the specific way certain letters were formed, and subtle die characteristics that counterfeiters often miss or cannot replicate accurately. Perhaps most disturbing is the discovery of fake certification slabs. When even professional grading services can be counterfeited, collectors face a double authentication challenge. They must verify both the coin and the holder, understanding that sophisticated counterfeiters now target the entire authentication ecosystem. The 1916 D Mercury dime represents the evolution of counterfeiting from simple alteration to complete system infiltration, where every aspect of the collecting experience, from the coin to its certification, can be fraudulent. Third on our list, we encounter Francis Henning, a man whose counterfeiting operation was so successful that his fake coins are now collectible in their own right. In 1954, the Secret Service discovered something unprecedented in American numismatics. Francis Henning had been operating an industrial-scale counterfeiting operation from his New Jersey home, producing fake 1944 nickels with a level of sophistication that stunned investigators. This wasn't some basement amateur operation. This was precision manufacturing that rivaled legitimate mint production. Henning's target was strategically chosen. The 1944 nickel wasn't particularly rare, but wartime silver shortages had created public interest in nickel composition coins. More importantly, the relatively low individual value meant that most people wouldn't scrutinize them carefully, allowing fakes to circulate undetected for years. The technical achievement was remarkable. Henning had created dies, established proper alloy compositions, and developed aging techniques that made his nickels virtually indistinguishable from authentic pieces. His coins showed the correct weight, proper magnetic properties, and surface characteristics that matched genuine 1944 nickels in every measurable way. What made Henning's operation particularly dangerous was its scale. Investigators estimated he had produced hundreds of thousands of fake nickels over several years. These coins had entered circulation through normal commerce, spreading throughout the economy without detection. Bankrolls, cash registers, and pocket change all contained Henning nickels, and most people had no idea. The discovery came through statistical analysis rather than obvious detection. Mint officials noticed that 1944 nickels were appearing in circulation more frequently than production numbers suggested they should. When investigators began examining these coins closely, they discovered the telltale signs of Henning's work. Detection of Henning nickels requires understanding specific die characteristics that distinguish them from authentic pieces. The counterfeit dies showed particular wear patterns, letter formations, and microscopic details that differed from genuine mint dies. Experts learned to identify these Henning markers that revealed the coin's fraudulent origin. But here's where the story takes an unusual turn. Today, authenticated Henning nickels are worth hundreds of dollars to collectors, not as genuine 1944 nickels, but as examples of sophisticated counterfeiting. They represent a unique category in numismatics, collectible counterfeits with their own market and authentication standards. The Henning case established new protocols for counterfeit detection and changed how the numismatic community approaches authentication. It proved that counterfeiting could operate at industrial scale, fooling experts for years. And that detection often requires statistical analysis rather than visual inspection alone. At number 4, we enter the realm of the unknown counterfeiter whose work was so sophisticated that experts called his creations superior to the originals. Omega Man remains one of numismatic's greatest unsolved mysteries. His identity was never discovered, his workshop never found, but his legacy lives on in what experts estimate was a $300 million counterfeiting operation that spanned decades. The St. Gaudens double eagles he created weren't just good fakes. They were often better than authentic coins from the same period. The discovery began with a puzzle that took years to solve. Collectors and dealers noticed that certain St. Gaudens double eagles showed exceptional quality, sharper strikes, and more lustrous surfaces than typical examples. Initially, these superior characteristics made the coins more desirable, not more suspicious. The breakthrough came when experts realized these perfect coins were appearing too frequently. Statistical analysis showed that high-grade St. Gaudens double eagles were showing up in the market more often than rarity should allow. When investigators began examining these pieces under magnification, they discovered something extraordinary. Hidden in the intricate design details was a tiny Greek letter omega, so small and cleverly integrated that it had escaped detection for years. This microscopic signature became the key to identifying an entire network of counterfeit coins that had been trading in major auction houses, sitting in museum collections, and fooling the most knowledgeable experts in numismatics. Omega's technical achievement was staggering. His dies produced strikes that exceeded US mint quality from the same era. The surface luster, edge reading, and fine details showed craftsmanship that legitimate mint workers would have envied. These weren't crude copies. They were enhanced versions of authentic designs. The metallurgical analysis revealed another layer of sophistication. Omega had matched gold content, alloy compositions, and even aging characteristics that made his coins chemically identical to authentic pieces. Standard testing methods, including specific gravity and electronic analysis, could not distinguish his work from genuine mint products. What made Omega particularly dangerous was his understanding of the collecting market. He targeted dates and mint marks that were valuable but not impossibly rare, ensuring his fakes would be believable. The Omega case represents the ultimate expression of counterfeiting as an art form, where technical skill, market knowledge, and psychological manipulation combine to create deceptions that transcend simple fraud and become masterpieces of criminal craftsmanship. Our fifth case brings us to a coin that earned one of the most memorable nicknames in numismatics: Frankenstein's monster, and for good reason. This particular 1872 Liberty-seated $50 represents the pinnacle of surgical counterfeiting, worth approximately $25,000 in authentic form. This coin wasn't created from scratch. It was assembled from pieces of multiple genuine coins with precision that would make a medical surgeon envious. The technique behind Frankenstein's monster reveals counterfeiting at its most sophisticated level. Someone, with extraordinary skill and patience, had taken the obverse from one authentic coin, the reverse from another, and joined them together so seamlessly that the seam was virtually invisible to normal inspection. This wasn't simple alteration. This was numismatic reconstructive surgery. Expert Jack Young's forensic analysis revealed the true horror of this creation. Under specialized lighting and magnification, microscopic evidence showed where two separate coins had been carefully separated, their surfaces machined to create perfect mating surfaces, then rejoined using techniques that left no obvious traces of the work. What made this counterfeit particularly dangerous was its ability to fool professional authentication. The obverse was genuinely from an 1872 $50. The reverse was genuinely from the same series. The weight was correct, the dimensions matched, and both halves showed authentic wear patterns. Every individual component was real, but the assembled coin was completely fraudulent. The detection required forensic techniques that weren't available when the coin was created. Advanced imaging revealed slight variations in metal grain structure where the two halves joined. Spectroscopic analysis showed microscopic differences in alloy composition between the obverse and reverse. Most tellingly, the edge reading showed subtle discontinuities that indicated the coin had been taken apart and reassembled. This discovery changed authentication protocols throughout the numismatic industry. Grading services began implementing new testing procedures specifically designed to detect assembled coins. Collectors learned that even genuine components could be combined to create valuable fakes that traditional authentication methods couldn't identify. The psychological impact was significant. If counterfeiters could create convincing fakes using genuine coin components, what did authentic even mean? The case forced the collecting community to reconsider fundamental assumptions about coin authentication and the nature of numismatic genuineness. Frankenstein's monster represents the evolution of counterfeiting beyond simple replication towards sophisticated reconstruction. It proved that the most dangerous fakes aren't always complete fabrications. Sometimes they're genuine pieces assembled in fraudulent ways, creating coins that are simultaneously real and fake, authentic and counterfeit, depending on how you define those terms. Halfway through our countdown, we travel back to colonial America, where counterfeiting wasn't just criminal activity, it was economic rebellion against British monetary control. Thomas Machin operated what became America's most significant colonial counterfeiting enterprise from his mills in New York. Between 1747 and 1791, Machin's operation produced thousands of counterfeit British halfpennies that solved a critical problem. British authorities had severely restricted official coin flow to American colonies, creating chronic shortages that crippled daily commerce. Machin's counterfeits filled this gap. His halfpennies provided the small change that colonial merchants and farmers desperately needed, allowing markets to function despite British monetary restrictions. These illegal coins were often more useful to colonial Americans than the limited official currency Britain permitted. The technical quality was remarkable for the era. Machin's dies produced coins that closely matched British halfpennies in weight, design, and appearance. While not perfect, they circulated widely without immediate detection, using sophisticated techniques including multiple die varieties and careful metal composition. What's fascinating is how authorities treated Machin's operation. Despite being technically illegal, there was little serious effort to shut it down because it served essential economic functions. Local merchants who desperately needed small change were reluctant to cooperate with investigations that would eliminate their primary currency source. The irony is perfect. Colonial authorities, and later early American officials, essentially tolerated counterfeiting because it solved problems that legitimate monetary policy couldn't address. Machin's operation represented colonial ingenuity responding to economic necessity. Modern collectors now actively seek Machin's mills counterfeits as important historical artifacts documenting American economic independence. These pieces represent practical rebellion, where illegal coins became more valuable to society than legal ones. Authentication requires understanding specific die varieties, metal compositions, and production techniques from different operational periods. The ultimate irony: coins that were criminal when made have become valuable collectibles that document American economic history. Machin's counterfeits prove that context and time can transform illegal activity into cultural heritage, making historical fakes authentically collectible. Seventh in our examination, Indian headquarter eagles, $2.50, and half eagles, $5, from dates like 1911. 1914 and 1925-D represent some of the most frequently counterfeited coins in American numismatics. A genuine 1911 Indian head 250 can be worth $15,000 or more, while a 1914 D half eagle might command $30,000 in high grades. The profit margin for successful counterfeits is enormous, making investment in sophisticated dies and equipment financially attractive to criminal enterprises. Modern counterfeiting techniques have made detection increasingly challenging, with advanced counterfeiters using precise metallurgical analysis to match gold content and sophisticated die work to replicate design details. The Omega Man operation particularly targeted Indian head gold coins along with his St. Gaudens double eagles. His $2.50 and $5 Indian head counterfeits showed the same superior craftsmanship, with strikes that often exceeded original mint quality and surfaces that fooled experienced collectors for years. Detection requires understanding specific diagnostic features unique to authentic Indian head gold coins. The incuse design, where images are pressed into the coin surface rather than raised above it, creates particular challenges for counterfeiters. Authentic pieces show specific characteristics in how incuse areas meet the fields, edge definition, and light reflection off properly struck surfaces. Weight and magnetic testing provide first-line defense against crude fakes, but sophisticated counterfeits now pass these basic tests. Advanced authentication requires examining die characteristics, surface textures, and microscopic details that vary between authentic mint production and even the best counterfeit dies. The Indian head gold counterfeiting problem represents criminal technology keeping pace with legitimate advances, creating an ongoing arms race between counterfeiters and authentication experts. American silver eagles and South African Krugerrands represent the backbone of modern precious metals investing. Millions of people worldwide trust these coins as stores of value, making them irresistible targets for counterfeiters who understand that high volume. Trusted products offer the best opportunities for large-scale fraud. The modern counterfeiting operation is fundamentally different from historical examples. Chinese manufacturing facilities now produce fake silver eagles and Krugerrands using industrial equipment that rivals legitimate mint production. These aren't basement operations. They're sophisticated factories with computer-controlled machinery, precision dyes, and metallurgical capabilities that can replicate weight, dimensions, and even magnetic properties. Contemporary bullion counterfeits are particularly dangerous because they're distributed through legitimate-seeming channels. Online marketplaces, coin shows, and even some dealers unknowingly sell fakes manufactured to pass casual inspection. The sheer volume of authentic coins provides perfect cover for fakes to blend in undetected. Detection requires understanding that modern counterfeiters have solved most traditional authentication challenges. Weight can be matched using proper metal compositions. Dimensions can be replicated using precision machinery, even sound. The traditional ring test collectors have relied on for generations can be approximated using specific alloy formulations. Advanced authentication now requires specialized equipment. Precious metals dealers use electronic testers that measure conductivity, ultrasonic thickness gauges, and sigma metalytics devices that can detect subtle differences in metal composition. Visual inspection alone is no longer sufficient for definitive authentication. The market impact has been significant. The modern bullion counterfeiting problem represents globalization's dark side, where international criminal enterprises can produce high-quality fakes and distribute them worldwide through digital marketplaces that make traditional law enforcement approaches nearly impossible. Roman forrée coins, from the French word meaning stuffed, represent the world's oldest known systematic counterfeiting operation. These weren't crude fakes made by desperate criminals. They were precision-engineered deceptions created by skilled craftsmen who understood metallurgy, economics, and human psychology. The technique was brilliant in its simplicity. Counterfeiters created bronze coin blanks, then coated them with a thin layer of genuine silver, using methods that produced coins with correct weight, proper sound when dropped, and complete visual authenticity. The finished products could circulate for years before wear revealed the bronze core underneath. Archaeological evidence shows forrée production was widespread across the Roman Empire. Counterfeiting workshops have been discovered throughout Britain, Gaul, and the Mediterranean region. This wasn't small-scale criminal activity. It was an industry that operated parallel to legitimate minting for centuries. What makes Roman forrée coins historically significant is their demonstration that counterfeiting responds to economic pressures rather than criminal opportunity alone. During periods of silver shortage, when legitimate coins became scarce, forrée production increased to fill gaps in circulating currency. These fakes served essential economic functions, keeping commerce flowing when official minting couldn't meet demand. Modern detection uses techniques Romans never imagined. X-ray analysis reveals bronze cores beneath silver plating. Metallurgical testing shows alloy compositions that don't match authentic Roman silver standards. But 2,000 years ago, these counterfeits were virtually undetectable using available methods. The Romans recognized the problem and developed increasingly sophisticated anti-counterfeiting measures. Legal documents describe severe penalties for forgers, and mint officials experimented with design elements that were difficult to replicate, but counterfeiters always adapted, creating an ancient arms race between authentication and deception. Roman forrée coins prove that counterfeiting isn't enabled by modern technology. It's a fundamental challenge that emerges whenever valuable objects become standardized enough to copy and profitable enough to make the risk worthwhile. Today, authenticated forrée coins are valuable to collectors as historical artifacts, proving that even ancient fakes can become genuine collectibles. 10th on our list, Chinese manufacturing facilities now produce counterfeit coins targeting virtually every major world currency. These operations use industrial-scale production methods, computer-controlled machinery, and sophisticated distribution networks that make traditional law enforcement approaches nearly impossible to implement effectively. What makes modern Chinese counterfeiting particularly dangerous is its integration with legitimate commerce. Fake coins appear on major online marketplaces, mixed with authentic pieces from unknowing sellers, creating a situation where even careful buyers can accidentally purchase counterfeits through seemingly reputable channels. The production quality has reached levels that would have been impossible just decades ago. Modern counterfeiters can replicate weight, dimensions, magnetic properties, and even sound characteristics using precision manufacturing techniques. Some fakes now require advanced testing equipment to definitively identify, making casual authentication by collectors increasingly unreliable. The scope is staggering. American Numismatic Association reports document increasing numbers of Chinese-made counterfeits appearing in U.S. circulation, targeting everything from common modern coins to classic collector pieces. The variety suggests organized operations with extensive research capabilities and market analysis. Distribution methods exploit globalization's weaknesses. Counterfeit coins ship internationally as replica or copy pieces, then enter collector markets through resale, private transactions, or dealers who may not recognize their fraudulent nature. Digital marketplaces provide global reach with minimal oversight, allowing counterfeiters to access worldwide markets. The enforcement challenge is unprecedented. Traditional anti-counterfeiting efforts relied on local jurisdiction and physical evidence. But modern operations cross multiple international boundaries, use digital payment systems, and operate from countries with different legal frameworks and enforcement priorities. Detection requires understanding that visual inspection alone is no longer sufficient. Collectors need electronic testing equipment, weight verification tools, and knowledge of specific diagnostic features that even sophisticated counterfeits cannot perfectly replicate. The Chinese counterfeiting phenomenon represents the dark side of global manufacturing capabilities, where the same technologies that enable legitimate international commerce also empower criminal enterprises to produce and distribute high-quality fakes on an unprecedented scale, fundamentally changing the landscape of numismatic authentication. 11th in our countdown. The 1836 Gobrecht dollar was originally a pattern coin, a test piece created by Christian Gobrecht to demonstrate his proposed design for a new silver dollar. Only a small number were struck initially, making authentic examples extraordinarily valuable, with prices reaching hundreds of thousands of dollars for genuine specimens. But here's where the story gets complicated. The mint later created restrikes using the original dies, or dies made from the original designs, for collectors and officials. These restrikes weren't technically counterfeits. They were official mint products. But they weren't original 1836 strikes either. This created a gray area that counterfeiters have exploited for over a century. Private counterfeiters quickly recognized the opportunity. They began creating their own restrikes using similar techniques, sometimes claiming their pieces were official mint restrikes, other times selling them as original 1836 specimens. The result is a market flooded with Gobrecht dollars of questionable authenticity, where even experts struggle to distinguish between original strikes, official restrikes, and private counterfeits. Authentication requires understanding subtle die characteristics, edge details, and metallurgical properties that distinguish between the various categories. Original 1836 strikes show specific die states, particular wear patterns, and surface characteristics that later productions cannot perfectly replicate. The problem is compounded by the passage of time. Some high-quality counterfeits have been trading for decades, building provenance and apparent authenticity through repeated sales and documentation. Collectors who purchased Gobrecht dollars years ago may not realize they own sophisticated fakes that have gained credibility simply through longevity. Modern forensic techniques including electron microscopy, dye analysis, and metallurgical testing can often distinguish between authentic, restrike, and counterfeit examples, but the expertise required is specialized, and the costs can be significant relative to all but the highest value pieces. The Gobrecht dollar situation illustrates how official mint activities can inadvertently create opportunities for counterfeiting, and how the numismatic market's complexity can be exploited by those who understand the confusion surrounding legitimate variations, restrikes, and reproductions. Our final case brings us to the most famous coin that technically doesn't exist, the 1804 Draped Bust dollar, where the line between authentic rarity and sophisticated fantasy has been blurred for nearly 2 centuries. The genuine 1804 dollar story is complicated enough. No silver dollars were actually minted with the 1804 date during 1804, but in 1834, the State Department ordered special presentation sets for diplomatic gifts, including dollars dated 1804. Only 15 of these Class I originals were ever made, making them among America's most valuable coins. This created the perfect setup for counterfeiting. The 1804 dollar's legendary status, combined with its extreme rarity, made it an irresistible target for forgers who understood that even sophisticated collectors might never have seen a genuine example for comparison. Class III fantasy pieces began appearing in the late 1800s, created by various individuals and operations using different techniques. Some used period-appropriate methods and materials, while others employed more modern manufacturing. The quality varied dramatically, from crude copies to sophisticated pieces that required expert analysis to identify. What makes 1804 dollar counterfeits particularly dangerous is their integration into numismatic history. Some fantasy pieces have been documented and traded for over a century, appearing in auction catalogs, museum displays, and collector publications. This historical presence can create false authenticity, where age and documentation substitute for genuine provenance. Authentication requires understanding specific die characteristics, edge details, and metallurgical properties that distinguish genuine Class I specimens from various categories of reproductions. The genuine pieces show particular striking characteristics, specific die states, and surface properties that even the best counterfeits cannot perfectly replicate. Modern counterfeiters continue targeting the 1804 dollar, using advanced techniques to create pieces that can fool casual inspection. Some recent fakes have appeared with elaborate provenance stories, false documentation, and claims of recent discovery that attempt to explain their sudden appearance in the market. The 1804 dollar represents the ultimate intersection of rarity, legend, and counterfeiting, where the coin's mythical status has generated more fakes than authentic examples, creating a situation where distinguishing genuine from fantasy requires expertise that few collectors possess, and where even experts must rely on advanced forensic techniques to render definitive judgments. Here's the thing. Some of these fakes are probably sitting in collections right now, completely undetected. So keep your eyes open. The next time you spot something that looks too good to be true, it just might be. And that's what makes collecting interesting. You never know when you'll be the one to uncover the next great deception.